my screen. All right, and we're good to go. So earlier today we did future value, as in if I invest money right now, so much money per month, how much money will I have in the long run? Okay. Now what we're looking at is kind of the opposite way. Making a payment along those lines. If I owe this much, how much do I need to pay each month to pay it off in a certain amount of time? Things along those lines. So before we started with nothing and we grew it and we made more money out of it. This time we're going to start with a bunch and we're going to go down to zero. So if you look in my flow chart, we talked about how we did compound or no compound. Then we have a regular payment this time. This morning we started with nothing. We built it up with regular payments. This one we start with something and exhaust it with regular payments. A loan, a pension, a mortgage, or something along those lines. Do we understand the difference between these two? This one we start with zero money and we build up and we're saving. And this one, we're kind of going the opposite. We start with something and we go down. Whether it's I borrow money for my house or I borrow money for a car and then I'm paying it off a little bit at a time. Okay. Here's my two formulas for it. I apologize, I got my formulas mixed up the other time. Okay, so suppose a school wants to establish a scholarship toward the top graduating math student. Okay, the $1,000 scholarship would be awarded at the end of each year. How much money needs to be invested now to cover 5 years of scholarship if the account pays 8% annually? All right, so I'm going to grab my formula over here real quick and I'll bring it over. So we're looking here at previous value. So everything's the same, but except we have PV we have present value instead of future value. So it's asking how much do we need to invest now to cover 5 years of the scholarship? So we want to give out $1,000 each year. So let's figure out our letters. So we have PV, we have R, big R, we have R, N, and T. So in this case, our regular payment is we're going to take $1,000 out every year. Our rate is 8% or 0.08. The N this time is annually, so it's 1 time per year, and we're doing 5 years. How do we feel about everything I just did out of 5? Can you see how I pulled that information out of that? 5, I understand it. 1, I have no clue what you just did. Nice thing is we kind of keep building on it every time. There's nothing new that we just did. So now I'm going to write down the formula. I'm going to plug everything into my formula. I apologize. Last time I got my formula messed up, I accidentally grabbed the PV formula instead of the future value formula. So we go 1,000.
Mr. I got a quick question for you, it's Ethan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why'd you reply to my okay with an angry face, man?
Oh, did you see that? My daughter asked me to.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll be right back. I'm just going to go.
Then she was like, he's not going to like that. I'm like, he's gone already. He won't see it.
No, I saw it. I was doing my homework online when I saw it.
That's funny.
All righty.
extend these brackets all the way up. Do we understand how we got this? How we plugged all that into our formula? Okay. So we just plugged in the numbers. Now, as always, we would get a top number and a bottom number here if you're doing it with your calculator. Okay. And if you're doing it, is he here? Ben's here. Ben should already have almost my answer for, you can use your TVM solver and solve this as well. In the case of TVM solver, we are solving for the PV value this time. Our future value in this case is we want zero money. We want that to be zero. Okay, and try to figure that out. I'm going to work through with the calculator. So if you're using an iPhone calculator, I'll grab that one to start. So if I was using this calculator, I would go 0.08. Well, divided by 1 is going to be the same thing. Now the weird thing here is it's a minus. Oh, did I write that down wrong? That's a +1. Sorry. Plus. I wrote that down wrong. So we +1 here to the power of -5 equals. Now here's the weird thing. I get this number right now, and I'm at 1 minus 0.68. Okay, but in my calculator right now, it's a positive. So what I need to do is I multiply this by -1, just to turn it into a negative. Then I add 1 to it. That makes sense to everyone who's doing the calculation? So I need to make that into a negative number. So I multiplied it by -1. So it's 0.32. Right? In this case, I would divide it by 0.08, press equal, then times it by 1,000. 3992.71. 3992.71. Seems low to me. Let's see here. It's only compounded annually. So this one here is going to be 5. Our percent is 8. Our payment is 1,000. This is 1 and this is 1. So if we go up, we're looking for our previous value. Yep. And there's our answer. How many people were able to get the answer on their either TVM solver or their calculator? Put a Y in chat if you were able to get the answer. Either with the TVM solver or if you use a calculator. Okay, yep, I will. Now, Haley, are you using a calculator like this one? iPhone, okay. So the tough thing here is it's not a plus. Like last time it was a plus in there. Up here it was you -1 off of it. But this time, this part's negative. Okay? So as we go through this calculation, right? If we go 0.08 divided by 1, oops, 0.08 divided by 1, right? plus 1 to the power of 5 negative. This part here, 1 minus 0.6. It's 1 minus 0.68. Okay. We have to make this a negative. So you can think about it as like a negative 1 going in there. So you have to times that negative 1 times this, and then add on your 1. Okay. Does that make sense? Or what you could do, you could minus 1 off of this. You can go minus 1. But this number is going to be positive, so you times this number by 1 negative to make it positive. Or what you could do, we had 0.068, right? You could just minus 1 off of this and know that this is going to be a positive number and just change that to a positive number in your next calculation right here. It's the recognizing like 0.68, right? If I know this number is going to be negative, I mean positive, because 1's bigger than that number, I could just go minus 1. It gives me negative 0.32, but I could just go, okay, but I forgot. I know that's going to be a positive number, so I just make it 0.32. Does that make sense? We'll go through it a couple more times. Okay. So before she left home for college, Sam's parents set up an annuity to help her pay for living expenses over the next 5 years. The annuity will pay $200 a month and earn 7.75% interest compounded monthly. How much will her parents put into the annuity? So how much do they need to invest now so that Sam can get paid $200 a month during her college years? Let me grab the formula. Okay. You guys help me out. What's my values here? So before she left college, Sam's parents set up an annuity. Annuity is just a regular payment to help her pay living expenses over the next 5 years. The annuity will pay $200 a month and earn 7.7% compounded monthly. Farley says the regular payment's $200. The interest rate is 7.75% or 0.0775. What's my other information here? How long is it in years? And how many times per month? How many times is it compounded per year? N's 12, correct? And T is 5. Perfect. So then let's plug everything into our formula. Remember, if you can make your formula here and then use your TEM solver, you're sitting at 90%. So I'm just going to replace everything in my formula. Um, 0.0775 over 12 to the power of negative Tn. So that's 60 altogether. Big bracket. My brackets are horribly let me redo my big brackets. How do we do with writing out the formula for everyone? 5 means I got it good. 4 means I mostly get it. Good. Dominic's got it down right in the formula. Then if you use your TVM solver from there, you have it's 90%. So I will do this on, what calculator do you want me to do first? iPhone, Scientific, or TVM solver? It's your choice. Or do you guys think you got it? And you want to wait for me to be, actually, I'll wait a little bit. Press D when you're in chat when you have the answer. Remember, we're looking for previous value this time. Good. Put in the chat what, when you press D, what method you use. Press T for TVM solver, and press C for calculator. So if you're done to use calculator, okay, calculator. Oh, good. Okay, good. So I'll start working through with my calculator. Now, if you have one of these bad boys, it'd be really nice because you could just go bracket, oops. And if you use Desmos too, that's really good as well. Power of -60. Oh, I messed up somewhere. Oh, oh, geez Louise, after I say it's so good. 1 minus bracket 1 plus bracket 0.0775 divided by 12 bracket to the power of -60. 0.32 divided by, oh shoot, triple 0.26. Times 200. Does that seem large? Is that the answer you guys got? 102.40?
Can you use the phone calculator?
Yeah, one second. I want to make sure I got that right. So our number here was 60. Our percent was 7.75. My previous values when I'm finding my 200, 12, 12. Okay, that's within region. That's a rounding error issue. Okay. No, that's not. Something's wrong with my calculation. 9,000. I'm missing a decimal place here somewhere. What did the other people get with the calculator? What did you get? So if I use this, I would go 0.0775 divided by 12 plus 1 to the power of -60. I messed up somewhere. Yeah, I lost a decimal place somewhere along those lines. 0.0775 divided by 12 plus 1 to the power of 16 negative. Okay. Then I'm just going to go plus 1, knowing, minus 1. I mean minus 1, knowing that this should be positive, so 0.32. Okay. That's 0.0775 divided by 12 equals, okay. Where did that previous number come from? That should be 0.0065. Zero 0.0065. Okay. Then I go 0.32 divided by 0.0065 times 200. 846.15. 9,846.16. So we're right around the same. All right, so I messed up on a decimal place there. Okay. How do we feel about this so far? Did the people who did the Desmos get it right as well? Who used Desmos? Did you guys get it correct as well? Was this the screen that you got for that? No one wants to tell me right now? O'Reilly. Okay. All right, so that's how you do that question. How much interest was earned? You did the calculator. So how would we figure out how much interest was earned here? Okay, it's kind of the same thing as we did before. How many total payments did, how much money did her parents pay her, like in total? They got $200 for 60 months. You didn't need to tell me, Riley. That's need to know, and I didn't need to know. So they paid $200, right? And it's for 60 months, right? So they actually gave out, her daughter got $12,000, right? But they only put in 9,800. So therefore, if we go 12,800, 12,000 minus 9,846.16, that will give us how much interest was earned on that. 98.
Wait, where'd you get the 200 and the 60 from?
Give me one second. Let me write down this number here first. Okay, so 200 was the monthly payment, right? They paid their daughter $200 a month. This is how many months in 5 years.
Oh, I see.
Okay, it's kind of like the same one. Remember the one we did before is like, how many total payments did we put in? It's along that same lines. I know I put a question kind of like this extra question on everyone's culminating. And on your culminating, if you see that I had like horrible English or if I messed up some words, tell me so I can go back and fix it. I went over culminating with a student yesterday and I realized that I messed up some stuff. All right. So Rob bought a bicycle for $1,500. He arranged to make payment to the store at the end of every month for 1 year. The store is charging 11% interest compounded monthly. How much is each regular payment? So now we know his previous amount. We know his previous amount was, let's see here. You know he borrowed from the store the $1,500. Now we're figuring out his regular payment. In all the previous questions, we had the regular payment, and we're trying to figure out how much the previous value was. Does this make sense to everyone? The difference between the two? PVR. So this time we know how much we borrowed, right? But we're trying to find his monthly payment. So we're trying to find the R value this time, not the PV. We have the PV. The PV is right here because we borrowed $1,500. Okay. Does that help you out, Farley, when you look at it like that? Good. Now the rate is 11%. Or 0.11. Now you may think that's high, and it is high, but credit cards, which we'll talk about tomorrow, are actually 19% compounded daily, and store credit cards are like 29%. So this here compounded monthly, so we're monthly, and we're doing 1 year. Okay. I'm going to give you a minute to figure out how to write all this in. Okay. Now what I would do, instead of writing it with divide sign, I would do this. It might help you out a little bit better. Okay. I'll give you a minute to work ahead of me. If you use your TVM solver, feel free to go ahead with that and figure out the answer that way. All right, I'm gonna get started here. So I know that's 1,500. I have 1 minus bracket 1 plus 0.11 divided by 12 to the power of 12 divided by 0.111 divided by 12. Okay. Put a D in chat if you're all done the question. Okay, and tell me how you did it. Like D, put DD would be with Desmos. DT would be with TVM solver, and DC would be with your calculator. Okay. Now, as I said before, if you use your calculator, also have your TVM solver there to double check your answer, right? So after you do with your calculator, run it through the TVM solver, figure out if you got it right or or not. And it might not be exact. It might, as long as it's in the same same ballpark. And if you're doing with the calculator, I would expect to see these steps. If you do with the TVM solver, write down your screen, right? If I only get the answer, you will get maybe a passing grade. You'll just get a 50 on it. If you just write down the answer and give me no information how you got it, I'll give you just a 50%. Oops. That makes no sense. I have a negative number up here for some reason. Okay, I have to go through it with you. I'll go through. Oh, negative exponent. I forgot my negative exponent. There we go. Do you want me to run it through on Desmos for you, Yosan? Oh, for the homework? Okay. No problem. I can work with that after. So let's see how I did here. Go through. So if I look here, this is going to be 12. My interest was 11%. My previous value was $1,500. I don't know my payment, but it's month by month. So let's solve my payment. 132.57. I'm in the same ballpark, just with rounding. 132.57. How do we do for answers there? Thumbs up, thumbs down. How many people are able to get 135, 132? Put a Y in chat if you're able to get that answer. We got a couple people say yes. All right, here, let's do your attendance check right now. Let me pull up this. Oops. There you go. Well, I didn't write Desmos in there. I guess that'd be under calculator. Good. Does anyone need the QR code up still? What part of the equation do you do first for finding previous value? If I want to find just the previous value, Olivia? Like a question like this one?
Yeah, like, so the formula is PV equals R1 minus 1, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you do the stuff inside the brackets?
Yeah.
And
So, let me see here. That would be 1, right? This would be 2. Then that gives me my upper number, that 0.32. Those two things done together gives me
Okay.
0.32.
so you'd find the first thing and then you do 1 minus the answer, not the answer minus 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how I get the 0.32. And then I go, I do the bottom part. Now, what calculator do you have again? Scientific. Did you answer me this already? Are you iPhoning it or Haley's iPhoning it?
No, I have a scientific calculator.
Okay. See, what I would do for you, if I were you, I would do like you could type in the inside part, the top part, all at one time. Go 1 minus bracket, 1 plus 0.0075 divided by 12, bracket to the power of, what was my number up there? 60, right? Negative 60? Yep. Okay. Then you can press equal there. I think I got a different answer. Oh. How come I got a different number all of a sudden? Okay, I'll go over one with you in a couple minutes, okay? But I can show you how you could all plug it in all at once. And for you, if you're using a scientific calculator, you could just do, did I do negative 6 instead of negative 60? Yeah, there's my error. Where is it? Negative 60. Right? There's my same answer. If you just wrote that answer here and left this as a fraction, because what I would do if I were you, I'd go divided by bracket 0.0775 divided by 12, close the bracket, press equals, and that will give me, if you write down that number as like your second step, I'd be fine with that. And then we times it by 200, was it? And that will give us a more exact answer because we are not using any like I haven't lost any decimal places, right? Jackson, you were here, but when I did attendance, I asked for you to respond, you didn't respond during first block. Right? When I went through attendance, I said your name multiple times and said, "Are you there? Are you there, Jackson?" Which led me to, since I didn't get a response, that led me to believe that you weren't present. Right? Well, that's why. Or if during the day you can, if you're answering questions, that helps me know that you're here. But that's what I do. I do my attendance check and I see who's here. But then when I go do my attendance, I say the person's name because who was it? Olivia Sanvito didn't fill in the attendance check, but I said her name and she goes, "Oh, I'm here." So that is why. I'll mark you as late. But for the morning part, that's why you're marked absent. All right, last one here. I'll let you guys do one more. You deposit $2,500 in RSP. 25 money for 20 years and earn this much annually. When you retire, you transfer that money to a RAF that earns 8% monthly. If you want the money to last 15 years, how much can you withdraw every month? So we have a two-part question here, right? The first part here is a future value question. Okay. The second part here is a previous value question. Because over the first 20 years, you're putting money in. For the next 20 years, you're taking, over the next 15 years, you're taking money out. Do you guys see the difference between this one? So you deposit $2,500 in your RSP every year for 20 years. Okay, that earns it compounded annually. 3.8% compounded monthly. Then you transfer it into a different account where you take it out monthly. Okay. So I'm going to do two sets here. So this is a future value question. My regular payment is $2,500. My rate is 7.5%. My N is 1 since it's compounded annually. And my time is 20. My other one here, I'm going to go with my previous value is going to be my answer for the previous question. Correct. It's because if you look at my my notes to self here again, future value, you start with nothing and you build. So you're building up an investment. So when you're depositing, you're building an investment. And then your previous value is when you exhaust with a regular payment. So I'm withdrawing, so that money is eventually going to keep going down and down and down. So that's previous value. So if the value goes up through the years, it's a future value question. If the value goes down, it's a previous value question. And your value is going down because you're taking money out monthly. Does that make sense, Olivia? Uh, 8.8. And these are monthly now. Okay, so we have to do this formula first. I'll pull over my formula. Oops. I'll give you guys a minute to get set up. So I'll get this one set up for everyone. Future value is 2,500. Bracket 1 plus 0.075 divided by 1, which is nice, to the power of 20 minus 1 give me 1 second. You have to understand, Yosan, what's happening to the investment. Okay? So if an investment is building money, like I'm starting with a low amount and I'm going upwards in my investment, then it's a future value, right? So if you take a look at this chart here, future values start with nothing and build up something with regular payments. Now, if I'm taking money out, that's where I'm starting with money or exhausting it, okay? It could also be like if I'm paying off a loan or a mortgage, I start with money there and I'm trying to get the mortgage at the end to be 0, right? So if I realistically, like a previous value, I want the end to be 0. A future value, I want the end number to be large. Okay, it's kind of like practicing and kind of recognizing it. All right, I'm going to use my TVM solver to get my answer for PV. You're taking out money to pay off for something. Yeah, in a way, you're kind of taking out money. In this case, we're taking money out to pay for our life. It's not like the previous question where we're taking money away to kind of pay off a debt, right? In the bike question, we're paying money to get rid of our debt, right? But we borrowed money to kind of go from there. In this question, we saved up money to pay us a regular amount later on. But we're still, if you think about it, we're starting with something and we're taking it down to 0. In the future value case, we start with 0 and we tried to build it up to something. TVM solver. So my N here is 20. My interest rate is 7.5. My previous value in this case is 0. My payment is 2,500. And I'm going 1 time per year. So my future value here. My future value here is 108,261. $108,261. And this here becomes my number over here, 108,261. To which, oh, thank you. Oh, never mind. And then for this one, we're trying to find our regular payment, so I'm going to use this formula. So 108,261 divided by 1 minus 1 plus 0.088 divided by 12 this time. Oops, I forgot T on this. To the power of negative 180 divided by 0.088 divided by 12. $180, 8.8 108261. I want to have none left, and we're going to have 12. So there is my two answers. I'll leave it there for a minute. Did people, I know I kind of moved through that quick, but I'll leave it to you to kind of run your formula, see if you can get an answer somewhat close. So if you use your calculator, you may be a little bit off each one, but as long as we're in the right ballpark. Well, this is our last question, Ethan. Did you get this answer, Ethan? All right. So I'm going to hop off here for a second. Look at homework for today. I think you have a little bit of questions on this as well. There's 6 questions along this line as well. Okay. So I will go back here. So you have the remainder of the day to complete your homework, do your checks, and then work on culminating items. If you have questions on culminating items, feel free to come back to me. Come back in the meeting, ask me. We can split off in a separate room or do other things along those lines to figure out answers. Okay? Don't leave yet. I want to double check my attendance. Because some people have come in. Who were not here before. I know you're still here, Farley. You have a little bit of anxiety over that. Kovacs is here. He's still not here yet, eh? No. No, Abby, you here right now? No, Abby. Okay. Perfect. Any questions going forward? You're good? So you guys have the afternoon to work away on stuff. I'm here for assistance if you need any assistance with what you've done, okay, or what you're working on. I did stop here. Stop recording.